It's time now to review headlines of today's newspapers. And we're, of course, going to start with the newspaper of record, This Day newspaper on Saturday.
All right, okay. The headline there says, tariff hike, federal government hints of plan to move all electricity consumers to band A in 3 years. The writer there states, says government to gradually withdraw subsidies set to save $1.4 trillion in 2024. This is why we spoke about this earlier on. And this is not good news for Nigerian consumers, I must say.
Well, I don't see how realistic it would be of the federal government to move all electricity consumers to band A in 3 years. That means they're moving us all to a band where we're...
I'm hoping it's for the better, because if they actually do, and there's constant electricity, it's almost like a win-win situation, where you do not want to be moved to band A and do not enjoy the benefits of being in band A, if you know what that means.
Yes.
All right, so of course, it also says that NERC fines Abuja Discos 200 million naira for violation of order on billing, instructs power distributors to refund affected customers. Eco Discos moves to reimburse customers who were wrongly billed. And not other others, Atiku Ajero, fault traffic hike. Of course, this will still be battled heavily as the day goes on. Okay, let's talk about above the head mastered. Okay, just look above the headlines first of all. The 4.8 magnitude earthquake rattles U.S. cities. Of course, we spoke about this also, or we just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Of course, New York was heavily impacted.
And New Jersey, luckily no one was harmed there. I believe my co-anchor, I miss dearly, Shaitan Atigari, was in New York at the time, and she did report into Arise to give an update on the situation. Of course, I believe it was a couple of days ago, there was an earthquake in Taiwan, which was the most serious one in over a decade. These things do happen, and we're just grateful that there have not been any mass casualties that were, have reported. So that is a...
And this one actually strikes home above the masthead. It says, "Don't panic," says NNPC, as fuel queues resurfaces in Lagos. I've noticed quite a lot of them on Awolowo Road here, on the island, and we're beginning to worry once again. And NNPC are saying there's no need to worry.
Well, let's move on to The Guardian. The largest story, the headline on The Guardian there, "Don't expect reduction in price of commodities now, experts warn Nigerians." And that story is on page 2. It has a picture of course, the CBN governor, Mr. Yemi Cardoso. And obviously, we've been complaining for weeks upon end about the rate of food inflation being incredibly high. The CBN has increased interest rates in order to try and reduce the inflationary pressure in the market. The Naira has appreciated a little bit, not as much as we would like, and it's obviously not yet at the level that the current administration met it. However, they are warning that the prices of commodities are not going to come down immediately. And that just shows that the price reduction is not as elastic as the price increase, and it's not as elastic as the Forex market.
No, but the biggest question is, do you think, a lot of people say that in Nigeria, when the price of commodities go up, they rarely come down.
Yes.
So...
I mean, we are hoping for the best, because the prices did increase an exorbitant amount. It was an astronomical increase, so we do hope that there would be some response to market forces. As we have seen even just with Air Peace, is that even when you have new players in the market, you do have a significant price reduction. So if there are new players in the market, if there is more cheaper food that is coming in, if we have cheaper commodities coming in, then the people who are controlling the prices will have to respond to the market. So That's hoping for the best.
Yeah, literally hoping for the best.
Yes. Well, the story that we did mention earlier is underneath that headline. Tinubu hails special investigator for job well done at CBN, and that is on page 2. That's, of course, the investigation into the former head of the CBN and former CBN governor, Emefiele. Yes, and the CBN's operations under him. I am hoping that we're not just going to get this statement. I am hoping we are going to see some charges being filed. I am hoping we are going to see some policy changes. And I'm hoping that we're going to see a CBN that is more transparent, that is actually responsive to the people. Because the CBN under Emefiele was very opaque, and we are now facing the consequences of that. So I do hope that Mr. Yemi Cardoso continues to speak with the media, and I hope he runs a more transparent operations as the governor of the CBN.
True.
But ultimately, out of this investigation, I would like to see that report.
All right. Let's see if they will make that public. Okay, President from The Guardian. Or you want to take a story on The Guardian?
No.
Okay, so let's move on to Saturday Tribune. And the headline that screams out there on the Tribune is 19 killed, building set ablaze by herdsmen in Kogi. All right, once again, we're seeing this herders clash with maybe farmers, still rearing its ugly head as 19 killed, building set ablaze by herdsmen in Kogi State. Meanwhile, under that, it says plateau crisis. Speaker swears in 9 APC members and leaves out 7. Okay, and moving on, there, of course, on top of the masthead on the Tribune, court convicts Bobrisky for Naira abuse. EFCC withdraws money laundering charges.
Yes, I think, the most fascinating thing about this is that it's right next to the story, bribery trial, Ganduje attacks Kano governor. And it's honestly a beautiful juxtaposition, because you wonder how the EFCC has time to take Bobrisky to court. However, we have a Ganduje trial that's been ongoing since we all saw a video where he was allegedly partaking in some bribery activities. However, we do have the social media star Bobrisky being taken to court very speedily, has already pled guilty to the charges. However, we have the juxtaposition of the former governor of Kano State in the form of Ganduje, who's currently, of course, the APC national chairman. Okay.
First of all, speaking about Bobrisky, the funny part of this whole cycle is that this weekend, in party venues across Lagos State, today and tomorrow, there will be a sign and a sense of restraint because people violate that particular CBN law on a daily basis, debasing the Naira. And for now, I'm hoping that this serves as a mile marker, then that the EFCC will begin to go out there and start hunting for people that are actually spraying the Naira. I'm hoping they do that, because hence it will be tagged a witch hunt.
I mean, I wonder if that's effective use of their time.
Now, if you're talking about more effective use of their time, let's see what becomes of this particular issue, this bribery trial between the EFCC and Ganduje. And now, of course, Ganduje is attacking the Kano government, because the Kano government has also come and has also laid some very grave allegations against the former governor of Kano State and his time in office as the executive governor of Kano State. We're still looking forward to it. And we're hoping that political interest doesn't swing into action and that the law should take its course, as they always say.
Yes. Should we move on to the Saturday Sun?
Please do.
The largest story there is, again, the electricity tariff hike. It says FG under fire. Opposition lawmakers, OPS, Southern Middle Belt groups say action insensitive, exploitative, and it says the NLC, the Labour Congress, says we are consulting, will take action soon. Now, I mean, this is, of course, we've spoken about this very much so today. It's going to be on the minds of a lot of Nigerians. It does say that 15% of Nigerians are on Band A and allegedly consume around 40% of our electricity. However, it is important that their groups are saying that the action is insensitive, while the Minister of Power, Mr. Adelabu, is saying that it is insensitive to expect the government to subsidize our electricity. Of course, it was not sustainable. However, I do not think insensitive is the right word to use to describe Nigerians, but I do think it is possibly very proper to use it to describe the tariff hike of over 200%.
Now, the truth is this. When people in government now speak, I always wonder, it's one of two things. It's either they've been far removed from the plight of the ordinary man, or they do not understand what people are going through. Because when you speak, and you speak like you're not living in Nigeria, you do not have relatives in Nigeria that are going through things. Because the hardship that Nigerians are facing is multi-pronged. We've spoken about, you mentioned quite a number of them earlier in the show, from the fuel subsidy to, of course, we even spoke about Cardoso saying that the hike in consumer goods will not relatively go down as fast as we, as fast as
the commodities, that the commodity price will
not go down very, very soon. And we should actually all hold on. So when things like this do happen, do they think about the common man and what they have to go through? Some people, their salaries are 50,000 naira per month. How do they survive? And where they still have to do all they have been doing for more with less. I did not understand that.
So it says under the story, and I actually absolutely agree with you. I was watching the statements by the Minister of Power, and I was absolutely appalled that a minister would come and say that if Nigerians were turning off their freezers or their ACs, that it would be better. There is no sustainable economy where people are going to turn off their freezers. Not people who need it for their food, not laboratories that need it for medication or tests,
and to even tell people, Nigerians, I'm not sure he knows the degree of heat a lot of people are facing outside, to be saying, or to be alluding to the fact, or to rather to be insisting that some people should turn off their ACs. It is unbearable outside.
He said, so I think, it does show, for me, his comments were absolutely insensitive. And I think it's honestly a show of shame for the federal government. And we are now coming up again on 1 year of the Tinubu presidency. Is this ministerial group the team that is expected to bring renewed hope or improve change to Nigeria? Because right now, I just do not see it. And, the story on top of that, I think, before we wrap up, the story under the masthead there goes, why Labour Party crisis festers. NLC, National Assembly members, Apapa faction unite against Abure. The other rider there says INEC doesn't have to monitor party convention, according to the youth leader. Well, I don't believe it's the youth leader that's going to tell INEC what is legally required from a party convention. I believe it's INEC that would let the youth leader know what is appropriate or proper. Of course, this Labour Party crisis has been festering. We saw that play out even with the Edo State gubernatorial primaries that produced Mr. Olumide Akpata. Now we are seeing it, with the National Convention that was, faulted. We do see some issues whether or not we're going to see the Labour Party presidential candidate over the last election, Mr. Peter Obi, leave the party or stay within it. Because, of course, you do have the obedient movement, which is separate from these factions that we're seeing of the Abure faction or the Apapa faction. You do have core loyalists to Mr. Peter Obi who are saying that they pitched their tent with the man and not the party. I mean,
no, the truth is this, the success of the Labour Party was not down to Julius Abure or any other faction of the Labour Party. The success of the Labour Party in the last election was down to the obedience.
Yes.
Whether the obedience are Labour Party members is yet to be proven. But one thing is certain, the obedience were the ones that made that rallying call and that clarion call for people to come out to support Peter Obi in mass. So if they are fighting for some of the gains from the last election, they should remember the obedience who are the lifeblood of Peter Obi can actually leave. But before we actually leave, finally, the Saturday Telegraph, we've been speaking about this throughout today. It says the FG student loan faces obstacles. It says, and one of the writers there says, ASU, we want grants for students, not loans. And another says, we were not consulted. ASU president, University Dons kick against policy. Another one says, it is a good development. Nigerians should let it work. Ex-VC, Mimico, Deputy Speaker Kalu says. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, grants are probably not sustainable for the federal government. They can want it, but I would not
Whether
suggest
it to be approved, it is left to be said.
Yes. Well.